Here we're going to look at Analysing Meeting at Night by Robert Browning from the beginning. First of all, we're going to look for subject matter. What's the poem about? We look for clues in the text here to tell us what the subject matter is. In the first line, we can pick out grey sea, long black land. In the second line, there's a yellow half moon. In the second stanza, we've got in the first line, a warm scented beach. And we already know that there are fields then in the second line of the second stanza. So fields have been crossed. And by the end of the second stanza, we know there are two hearts beating each to each. So for subject matter, look for clues to what it's about. And as you can see, I've noted around the margin of the poem all the points I've picked out and I'm going to talk you through. And that's a good thing to do in the exam. Pick out all the things you spot. And then once you've picked them out, you can then use them as a plan for the structure of your essay to talk through all the techniques. So the next thing, once we know what the subject matter is, and we know it's person at sea, a character, and we know that because the land is long and black, he's a great distance from his destination or her destination. And we know by the end of the first stanza that he's managed to get to dry land. He's pushing his boat, it appears, into slushy sand. So it's a person on a journey, and the end of the journey over sea and land leads them to their love, two hearts beating each to each. So it's a love poem, and the character is on a journey to meet their love. The form. Finding out what form it is. Well, we look for clues. So it's a poem about emotions, it's a poem about love, and it's written in the first person narrative, and we know that because in the first stanza it says, as I gained the cove, so it's written in first person. And that tells us, putting those things together, that it's a lyric poem. So we know what it is. And when you talk about what a poem, the structure, the form rather, you want to say what that does to the poem, how it reveals what the poem's about and what the poet's saying by the form they've taken. And you would explain that by saying that the poet has chosen the lyric form suitable to speaking about intense emotions as is appropriate to this poem, and explain how you know that it's a lyric form. The next point is structure. It's in two equal stanzas, and closely linked and within structure, you would talk about the rhyme scheme. The rhyme scheme, as I've put it in red letters, is ABC, CBA. The rhyme scheme from the first stanza is the same in the second stanza. And that mirror image, matches the poet's discussion of love and the fact that it prefigures two hearts beating each to each. It's like a mirroring of two people, and it has a coupling that reflects the relationship of the two people. Also in the rhyme scheme, the middle of the rhyme scheme, CC, this is a rhyming couplet. Both lines rhyme exactly, and that we'd call a rhyming couplet. You have a rhyming couplet in the first stanza and in the second stanza. And that again reflects that this is a poem about two people coming together. The coupling of the lines reflects the coming together at the very end. It prefigures that when you have the two hearts beating each to each. The next thing you can talk about is rhyme. So we're looking out for types of rhyme here. You can spot alliteration, pushing prow, and slushy sand. If you remember, alliteration is when two consonant sounds are the same and they're put together, two words together. Pushing prow, slushy sand, alliteration. Alliteration gives emphasis. So Here, the poet is emphasizing when he has pushing prow, which means that he has pushed, or she has pushed their boat into the sand, the slushy sand. He's giving emphasis to the fact he's reached a key point in the poem. He's got to dry land. Again, we have alliteration, sharp scratch, in the third line of the second stanza. That's at the point where a match has been lit and the two lovers are about to set sight on each other. It's a high point in the second stanza and hence given emphasis. The next point from our checklist is to talk about language. There are lots of points of language here. Visual imagery is key. You have long black land, and that's the image that's visual and very vivid, and that's the point of imagery, to give vivid emphasis. So the long black land, the poet is showing the great vast distance between the character and his love, and the distance he travels. You've got visual imagery of the little waves that leap and the fiery ringlets of the waves. That's a very vivid image. Fiery ringlets of the waves is a very passionate image. Fire is always often connected to passion and love. So he's presenting his love very vividly through that. You also have the image of the warm scented sea in the second stanza. That's sensuous imagery. It's a very romantic image and very fitting with the subject matter of the poem. Another point is personification. In the first stanza, the waves are given human qualities. They sleep and they leap. And here the poet is showing how, by giving personification to non-living objects or things in the poem, he's putting his level of passion and his intense feelings into things that aren't even living, suggests that his love is even spilling over into the natural environment. So that just reinforces the intense emotions he is feeling. The tone of the poem, I think you could say, is very happy, very positive. It ends on a very positive note, but there is a sense of danger in the poem, joys and fears, and that's important. It's almost as if there's forbidden love here and there's danger in their meeting. Contrast is a key language device as well, and you have joy and fear next to each other. So that's a good way for the poet to show that there is a conflict here and a danger, and that maybe the love is forbidden. So that gives you an idea of the sorts of things and key points to pick out in this poem. Jot them down in the margin, and then from that you can construct your answer.